Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. I am excited today. We are making some more crock pot meals. I have just been loving my new crock pot and I wanted to make another video and I wanted to use it some more this week, so I am sharing 3 more crock pot meals with you today. I hope you enjoy. Let's go ahead and get on with the video. First up today, we're going to make this beef and gravy over mashed potatoes recipe. So to begin, I'm just using my small crock pot because this does not make a ton of food in here. And then I'm adding in some beef stew meat, and this beef stew meat was about 1.25 pounds, so just over a pound. So if you want to make more than that, you will have to double or even possibly triple this recipe. Next, I'm adding in some salt and pepper. I didn't even add a 1/4 teaspoon of these, I just added a couple shakes. You can always add more in the end. Next, I'm adding in a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 packet of this au jus gravy mix, and then 1/2 cup of beef broth. I gave that a little mix together, and then I took about 2 tablespoons of butter and just sliced that up and laid them over the top. Then I just added the lid on and let this go on a low heat for 5 to 6 hours until that beef was just super tender. Now, like I said, I am going to have this over some mashed potatoes, but you could also have this over some pasta. But somebody asked me a couple weeks ago how I make my mashed potatoes, so I thought I would just throw this in here. I never measure anything when I make mashed potatoes, so first of all, I'm of course going to peel, cube, and wash my potatoes. Then I just boil them on my stove until they are fork tender. If I'm not making too much like today, I just make them right here in my pot, but if I'm making a big amount, I'll just add them into my big mixer. It's so much easier that way. Into my mashed potatoes, I like to add butter and 1/2 and 1/2. I usually always have 1/2 and 1/2 in my fridge, so that is what I'll use, but milk will work as well. Then I add a spoonful of sour cream, and I use my little potato masher to mash that up. Now, to season my mashed potatoes, I like to use garlic powder, salt, and pepper. Occasionally, I will add in some parsley just for a little bit of color. And again, I do not measure any of these. I just add some in, give it a good mix, taste it, and if it needs something else, I'll add it in. Like today, I needed to add a little bit more butter and a little bit more salt. Mashed potatoes are honestly a very easy side and very affordable. I like to start these about 30 minutes before my beef is done, and then this is what the beef actually looked like when it was finally cooked. This is what my finished plate looked like. I added it on top of the mashed potatoes with a little bit of that sauce. This meat was very, very tender and the flavor was just so good. And on the side this night, I decided to have some Brussels sprouts. My husband really enjoys this meal, so we fully cleaned out the crock pot. So if you are making this for a family, like I said, you will want to make sure that you double or triple this recipe. Up next, we are making another variation of chicken tacos. This time we're going to make a homemade seasoning to go in here. To begin, I used my little crock pot again this time and just added in 2 chicken breasts and 1/2 of a chopped yellow onion. Next, I'm adding in 1 can of diced tomatoes with jalapenos. For my seasonings, I added about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, a couple shakes of black pepper, 1/2 a teaspoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin. I gave it a little bit of a mix around. It's not going to be super easy at this point, just get the top seasonings kind of mixed together. and I added the lid and cooked this on a low heat for about 4 to 5 hours, and at that point this is what it looked like. My chicken was falling apart, so I just used this big fork and shredded the chicken all right here in the crock pot. Then I'm just going to add the lid and kind of let this soak in some of those juices for about 20 minutes, and then finally this is what my finished plate looked like. I just ate them in some low-carb tortillas, added all of my favorite toppings, some lettuce, tomato, red onion, sour cream, shredded cheese, hot sauce, and that is all there is to this recipe. And now we're gonna make my meatless stuffed shells. I've shared this on my channel many times. It's one of our favorite recipes, but today we're making it in the crock pot for the first time ever. So into my bowl I added one 15-ounce container of ricotta cheese, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 1 egg, 1 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese, a half cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, 1 tablespoon of basil, 1 tablespoon of oregano, and 1 tablespoon of parsley. And then finally you'll just add a few shakes of salt and pepper. Using a spoon, I'm just going to get this mixed together, and then I'm going to add it into a Ziploc bag, or you can use an icing bag, whichever you have. It's just going to make filling these noodles 10 times easier. Now this part's a little different than how I normally make them. This is just for the sake of using the crock pot. In this measuring cup I have 1 cup of water, and then I'm pouring in 1 jar of spaghetti sauce. Adding this water will help our noodles to get nice and soft in the crock pot. Here are the noodles we're going to be using. They are just the jumbo shells. You'll want to add that filling into a Ziploc bag or an icing bag, that way you can easily squeeze them into the noodles just like this. Once I have those all filled, I'm going to go ahead and start layering everything in my crock pot. So to begin, I'm taking some nonstick spray and just spraying the edges so my noodles do not stick. Then I'm pouring in about 1/3 of that cup of water and spaghetti sauce. I added 1 layer down of my stuffed shells. And then on top I added a handful of shredded mozzarella cheese. So now we are just going to basically repeat everything we just did. So I am adding that spaghetti sauce over the top, and now adding on my second layer of stuffed shells. Now we are going to add the rest of that spaghetti sauce and water mixture over top of those noodles. And on top, another handful of mozzarella cheese. You'll also just want to sprinkle a little bit of parsley on the top. It'll kind of melt down into the cheese. Here comes my husband trying to help, so I told him to add the parsley on just a little, and he added a lot. So maybe don't add quite as much as he added, but you get the picture. I went ahead and added the lid. This timer says 4 hours, but I actually only cooked this for about 2 hours and 45 minutes. Here's what it looked like when it was all done. This actually turned out pretty darn good. The only thing is the bottom layer of noodles got a little bit softer than the top half. The top half was still done perfectly, but the bottom were a little bit soft. And when you take them out of the crock pot, you have to be kind of gentle about it so you don't absolutely destroy the noodles. But overall, this was awesome to cook it in the crock pot. It was so fast. Dinner hardly took me any time this night, which was great. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and got some good ideas out of it. Don't forget to leave me a flower down in the comments below if you made it all the way to the end, and I will see you back here on Sunday for a new video. Bye!